ground shake.
All right, so here's the deal. We're gonna be talking to you guys today about all the loan agreement forms that you guys have sent out and what we can do to get our business organized. Now, I will say this. First off, I wanna say a big sincere thank you to you guys for downloading the form, implementing it, giving it a shout out, sharing it with your friends that are also in the industry. I think 2,400 of you guys downloaded that form in the first week, which is freaking crazy. That's a lot of people that we're helping out. So I super appreciate the support and you guys checking that out. It was available on the launchpreneuracademy.com website, which it is still there if you ever do need it. And then number two, thank you for you guys for supporting the Launchpreneur Academy. A lot of you guys have been buying the training programs and all that mess that are very helpful for people just getting started, your first few years in business. Not here to plug, the Launchpreneur Academy right now, but we do have a new program available on productivity and profitability hacks. So maybe check that out. I'm just saying. But here's the deal. I wanted to say thank you guys for supporting the Launchpreneur Academy website and downloading the form. A lot of you guys were editing it and making it your own, which is really, really cool. But here's the $1,000,000 question. What do we do once we have 50, 80, 500 of these things come back, right? What's the next step? Well, let me give you guys a couple pointers and tips that I have used and found out that works best for me to kind of get my ducks in a row, right? The first thing I want to say is that obviously we have about another 50 or 100 customer forms that came back, and we need to make sure that everybody's contact info is up to date. Now, you're kind of in two phases. Number one, you need to update everybody's contact info and make sure the name, the address, the email, the billing address is all up to date. A lot of people, things change and you got to make sure that that is current. Number two, people might have credit cards on file. You guys know I'm a huge credit card on file guy, where we do a charge card at the end of the month with Yardbook. Well, here's the deal. You might have some folks that say, or leave a note that says, hey, my credit card expired. Can you send me an email to update my credit card info? Some folks might return a message like that. So you always want to make sure that people's contact info is up to date and their credit card info is up to date. That's the first thing we do. By the way, going through some of these forms, something that I've noticed over the last few years is that sometimes folks just straight up cancel. No big deal. They leave a cancellation like, hey, we moved. Hey, we're selling the home. No service this year. Take us off your list. That's fine. Like sometimes you're going to have 1.5% of your business that might just not renew. That's totally fine too. Of course, we're going to call those folks and just touch base to see what's going on if they canceled us because they didn't like our service. That is pretty rare. But the people that do move and all that other stuff, it's always good to confirm, just though we're not letting anything fall through the cracks, right? Now, part two, and this is where I got my business organized and it felt really good for me, is that I take all these, this whole stack of paper and we open up an Excel file or numbers, whatever, and I like to create a master list of all the services we're gonna be offering. So let's say we got a column for spring cleanups, we got a column for, aerations, a column for mulch, flowers, et cetera, right? And I create this whole chart all the way across, and normally I have it on my clipboard, which is right back here. And this helps me get organized to know what products and services we're offering to what customers during what weeks of the year. It's actually pretty cool. What that allows me to do is that when I'm scheduling that service for that week or couple weeks of that month of that time of the season, I know that I've got 18 spring cleanups, 40 aerations, I don't know, help me out, 9 mulch jobs, right? 17 fall aeration overseeds, so on and so forth, right? It helps me get organized. So the biggest thing I can get out of this whole part of this video is create a master list so you guys know what's going on. Now, what I like to do is then take that information and plug it into my CRM. A lot of you guys know that we're powered by Yardbook, which is really cool. By the way, they just had a bunch of new products and services come out, like inventory tracking, chemical tracking, custom forms, some pretty cool stuff. Little plug in there for Yardbook, right? And what that allows me to do is I go into my calendar and I schedule jobs and tasks. So all of those aerations, I've got it. It's actually really sweet. If you guys can connect the dots here, this was huge for my business. And I don't know where you guys are at, but this was really good for me. So I schedule all my jobs and tasks based on that master list into my calendar so I know what I got going on every single day, right? Now, the next phase of this whole thing is once I have my master list created, once I have it all punched into my calendar so far, what I like to do, and you can even do this in the reverse order, is I go through every single phone call and I do what I call confirmation phone calls, right? I actually picked this out back in the day when when I learned through TrueGreen. And basically it's locking in the services that everybody signed up for. You want to confirm service. So it does take some time, but you know what? This is the only time, maybe twice a year, where I'm really burning up the phone. But you know what? You can spend one Saturday, make 80 to 100 phone calls or 10 a day for a week and a half, and lock down and guarantee that $150 to $250 to $500,000 a year business that you're lined up going into the season. So I literally go and call every single person. Let's take Mr. Wood, right? So we talk Mr. Wood and we say, hey, I saw that your form came back, super appreciate that. Hey, just wanted to take 30 seconds, just review it for you, make sure we're on the same page. I got you for the spring cleanup. We got you for the lawn maintenance at so-and-so price. I also noticed that you wanted a fall cleanup. Yeah, that's awesome. Then what I like to do is go into basically sales mode, right? You guys will really find this pretty cool and really impressive, and you can really grow your business by 20 or 30% right off the bat, just burning up the phone. What I like to do is say, hey, Mr. Wood, one thing that I noticed is that you didn't sign up for the spring aeration. It's something that I would suggest and I recommend. We're actually doing it at a pretty nominal rate. I think it's 65 bucks for your property. Just something to consider. You know me, I'm not a hard sell, but if it's something that you like to add on while I gotcha, we can make sure to schedule that and get you all set up and rock and roll. What do you think about that? And you know what? Here's the honest answer. If that person says yes or they say no, I'm totally happy either which way. I am not a go and say, you know, make them say no 4 times kind of guy, and I'm not taking no for an answer. And I don't do that. Maybe you can do that with your business and you want to, that's fine. But for me personally, that's my proposition. That's not like an exact script. I just made that up on the spot, but that's what I personally do. By the way, we do that. Almost every single customer has something unchecked, and that's what we do. If you don't have a spring aeration, I'm definitely gonna try to hit you up for a spring aeration, because that is solid profit. If you have the machine and you own it, you know what I'm talking about. I love my Exmark aerator, fantastic investment for me. But I will say this, even if you rent aerators and do all that mess, you got a little bit of labor in there, and that's about it. Great money and great seed money to get your business started. Spring, whatever you wanna do, that's when I do them. Of course, we offer it in the fall as well. That's some great seed money. So every single person is getting, you know, hit up for an aeration. If you didn't check the spring cleanup box, I'm gonna say, well, hey, I know we didn't do a fall cleanup for you. For us to start service and to service your property in the best fashion, I would suggest a spring cleanup. We can do it for X, Y, and Z. Like, here's a price range from, you know, it's gonna be 145 to, you know, 225, just throwing out a number there. Is that something that you might want us to do for you to help get your property back in shape after the crazy winter we just had? All right, had to turn the truck because the sun was coming out and this video was getting bled out, right? All right, so here's the deal. Let's keep going from there. After I upsell all of our customers, now, if somebody checks, you know, all 8 out of 8 boxes, awesome, right? Very unlikely, okay? But I did a video talking about lawn care versus full service, and my goal is to thicken up that 100. All right, so as we go through the list, you guys are gonna see that there's another section for fertilizer. Now, maybe next year I'll try to make the form where we don't have that fertilizer section, because a lot of you guys don't offer that, but most of you guys were able to edit that part out using whatever software, so kudos to you guys. But here's what I would say about the fertilizer part. If you don't offer it, you know, no big deal. If you do offer it though, here's where you get your ducks in a row to figure out your fert orders, how much supplies you're gonna need, so on and so forth. Or if you're somebody like me, you can at least communicate to your subcontractor who's doing all your fertilizer and give them an idea about how many customers that you have signed up and where you're at, whether it's revenue wise, whether it's square foot wise. It just gets that conversation going with you and your fertilizer subcontractor. Now, as you guys can imagine, make sure you have your licensing and all that other jazz. If you are doing fertilizer, every state is different, so make sure you check with your local laws and all that fun stuff. For real, don't lay that stuff down, because you can get in big trouble if you're not registered and licensed and all that mess. But for me personally, I have a couple commercial sites that my friend Mike does for me, as he's my go-to fert guy, and then about a dozen to 15 residential sites. So it's a great thing for me to get organized with the fertilizer side of things as I talk to my subcontractor about some good expectations and what we got going on, so he can also add that to his numbers when he's putting in a bunch of those spring fertilizer and all the products that he needs to make that side of our businesses work. So as you guys can tell, after going through this whole checklist, we have updated contact info, hopefully updated credit card info if people need. We have people's emails, addresses, phone numbers, all that. We create a master list with a column for aerations, a column for cleanups, a column for dethatchings, flower installs, whatever you guys want, right? And then what I do is I burn up the phone, and we always try to upsell everybody on one thing, especially our most profitable things, which is usually aerations and mulch, right? So it's really, really cool. It helps you get organized. And quite honestly, like I said 2 years ago in my video, I was sick and tired of thinking I'm gonna make, you know, $100,000, let's just say in a gross revenue number, and it would come short and we'd do 70,000. Because in my mind, I'm thinking everybody's getting everything, right? Until you actually go through the checklist and you realize, wait, only a third of our people are getting mulch, only a tenth of our people are getting aerations, and you're kind of all over the place. This is where you can spend a couple hours dialing for dollars, I like to call it, and upselling and cross-selling, and quite honestly, even just letting your customers know that new things exist. It's a really easy conversation, and a lot of revenue you're leaving off the table if you don't have those conversations with your customers and just let them know that you guys now offer that service. For me personally, I've had to really work on that because we went from 100% lawn maintenance about 24 months ago till we went and started adding aerations and mulch and flower installs and dethatchings and cleanups and all this other stuff. There's nothing more frustrating than talking to your customers after they do that service and them saying the statement, oh, I didn't even know you offered that. That's like cringe times 10 for me, especially when it's the low-hanging fruit like mulch and aerations, right? We burn up the phone and try to grow all those numbers, everything, man. I sell. This is like once a year where I go on a selling spree, not an overzealous trying to, you know, beat down the pavement selling spree. It's just a very casual, everybody gets a soft touch. Hey, do you need this or this? Do you need this or this? I saw you didn't check these boxes. Just wanted to update and see if you guys wanted, you were interested in this service, right? Then as you can imagine, all those columns, they start expanding and we start filling all that work into our jobs and tasks calendar in your CRM, whatever you guys use. You guys know I use Yardbook like I was saying, right? So that's what I do to get organized. Then pretty much it's time to execute. It's time to rock and roll. One thing I like to tell people is this might be a great time for you guys to sell some seasonal prepay. Maybe you need a little bit of a cash infusion. So maybe some of you guys have 50% of your customers prepay for the season. Maybe it's $2,500 a year worth of work that they do. You can have them prepay that all up front with a 5% discount. I'm not opposed to that. I think that's awesome. We have about 5 or 6 customers that prepay, and that allows us to put in our parts orders, do tune-ups and spring maintenance like on the mowers and the trailer, and that kind of stuff definitely helps out. You know what I mean? So guys, that's what I do. I take this whole stack, and there's probably about twice as many that I'm supposed to have here, if not 3 times as many. I guess that's another tip too. Call your customers whether you get the form back or not and say, hey, mail that freaking form back, or if you're not going to mail it, what do you want? What have you checked off? Are we doing the same program as last year? And quite honestly, a lot of folks do end up mailing them anyway. They get lost in the shuffle, right? But go through every single person, and you can take that same attack plan, that philosophy I just said, and say, hey, I know you saw the form, but we still offer XYZ services. And if they're like, yeah, just sign me up for the lawn maintenance, right? And that's when I would say, well, do you want the lawn maintenance? By the way, we have a spring aeration, and still take that time to upsell. I'm telling you what, you can burn up the phone on a weekend or do this Monday through Friday one week, just 5 or 10 calls a day, and you can probably drum up another 10 to 20 to 30% more business versus just taking things at face value. Be aggressive, grow your business, you're in sales, that's how it works.